Alright, today's video is going to be on polar coordinates. This is going to be video 1 for polar coordinates. In your book it's section 10.7. So let's take a look at a graph. Now you guys are very familiar with rectangular coordinates. This is just another way to locate a point. So let's say I put a point P over here. With rectangular coordinates we would go over to the right in our x direction, and then we would go up to P in our y direction, and we would give it xy coordinates for how far we went right and how far we went left. With polar coordinates, a little bit different. We're going to try and place P on some circle. So if I find a circle, so I'm going to make this a radius, and then I'm going to make a circle that this point's going to be on. So we've got some circle. We'll just pretend that that's a circle. And P now is on that circle. So in order to locate this point, I want to see which circle am I on, what's the radius of that circle, so my radius, and then what angle did I rotate, theta. So we go out to a circle and then we rotate. We can either rotate in a positive direction counterclockwise or a negative direction clockwise. So now this point here is going to have coordinates, polar coordinates, that are r for the radius of the circle that that point is on, and then a theta for how far we had to rotate to get to that point. So let's write this out here. Each point is assigned a polar coordinate r comma theta, where r, it's really a radius, but we call it the directed distance, and theta is the directed angle. So let's take a look at a few examples, and it is worth mentioning that you're going to want to review your unit circle. If you remember me talking at the beginning of the school year that we would be using the unit circle literally to the end of the school year. Here we are at the end, and we're going to be using our unit circle again. So dig one of those up or find one on the internet and refresh yourself, because you're going to need it. Alright, so let's take a look at an example. We're going to plot each point. So this is part A, and I'm going to give you 5 points that we're going to plot. So point A has polar coordinates 1, pi over 2, and point B has polar coordinates 2, comma, negative pi over 2, and point C has coordinates -2, negative pi over 2, and then point D has coordinates 1, pi over 4, and point E is -1 and 3 pi over 4. So we're going to graph all these. So let's start with a polar coordinate axes. And if you notice, the radii that we have are 1 and basically 2 if we look at the absolute values, because here's a -2, here's another 1, and here's a -1. So all the ones that are 1 or -1, those are going to be on the same circle, and then the ones that are 2 or -2, those will be on the same circle. So I'm going to need 2 circles. I'm going to need a circle with a radius of 1, and I'm going to need a circle with a radius of 2. So here's my first circle. Here's my second circle. Just as a way of a little review, remember this is pi over 2 at the top. This is pi over here. Down at the bottom is 3 pi over 2. and then we would start at 0 and then come all the way back around to 2 pi. So when we're plotting point A at 1 and pi over 2, we're always going to go either to the right or to the left, depending on whether r is positive or negative. So since it's positive, we're going to go 1 to the right, to the circle that has a radius of 1, and then I'm going to rotate pi over 2 degrees, so I'm going to rotate up this way and end right over there. So that's where point A is going to be. Okay, then for point B, I'm going to go out to the second circle, so it's positive, so I'm going to go to the right again to the second circle, and now I'm going to rotate negative pi over 2. So I'm going to rotate this far, so 90 degrees, except I'm going to rotate in the negative direction. So I'm going to rotate down this way, so that would put me right over there, and that would be point B. Alright, then for C, this is a negative 2, so I'm going to go to the left, and then I'm going to rotate in the negative direction. So I'm going to go to the left, out to the second circle, and then I know that clockwise, so I'm going to rotate actually up in this case, clockwise, 90 degrees, pi over 2. So that's going to put me right over there, and that's going to be point C. Alright, the last two, D, is 1 and pi over 4. So again, I'm going to go out to the first circle, and then I'm going to rotate 45 degrees. So that's going to be right over there. That's going to be point D. And then the last one is negative 1 and 3 pi over 4. So I'm going to go out to the left to the first circle, and then I'm going to rotate 3 pi over 4, which is going to put me right over there for point E. Right, so there's 5 different points. You can see where they are. You always want to go either to the right if it's a positive radius, or to the left if it's a negative radius, and then rotate the appropriate distance. So we'll look at a few more examples in video 2.